Hi, this is Diane, and I will be your host for the final Part 5 of Miscellaneous How-Tos and Did You Know? The topic for Part 5 will be scopes, setting them up and using scopes. What we'll do is create a project. When you are creating a project, you have an option of copying the scopes from any of your existing projects that you presently have set up. So for example, if I'm going to create a project called Diane, and I'm going to select a project that I know already exists with scopes that I want to use for this same project, and select Copy Scopes. So from Project 4, any scopes that are associated with that project will copy to the Diane's project as well. So when I look at Diane project and modify it, it will actually have the scopes associated with them. I can do that very same thing, creating a new project, and I will say new, and we're going to say copy it from the same project, but I'm not going to copy scopes this time. And when I say OK and modify, you'll see now that I have no scopes associated with the project new. So you have a choice when you're creating new projects to copy from an existing project or actually start without any scopes at all. So that's the first place that you set up scopes, actually on the project level. So we're going to go to New, and we're going to modify that and add some to the scope, to the project that doesn't have any scopes. So let's just say we're going to add a new one, and we're going to call this Drawing 1. And we're going to call this First Floor. And I'm going to set up a supply scope and now say OK. So now for this new project, I have some scopes associated with it by setting it up at the project level. That's the first place you set up your scopes. The second place is after you've created a job, then you go into the input, and the first icon on the left, Job Setup Options. You'll select that, and at that point you select the scope that you are starting to use for that particular set or run of fittings. I can also add new ones from this point, so I can go ahead and do a D2 and maybe a D3. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I'm going to use. I can still select the Drawing 1 and say OK. Now when I take off some fittings, so at this point that was the second place that you can set up your scopes. So if we put in some dimensions for a fitting and look back at the Scopes tab, you'll see they are the scopes that I set up originally. So if I say go back to Input and say OK, and now I want to change my scope. I'm going to go ahead and select another fitting, and I'm going to go to the Scopes tab, and I'm going to change this to D2. And I'm going to go back to Input, and I'm going to say OK. So now when I look back at my grid, I will have, I can't see my grid, so we'll go ahead and close that. When I look back at the grid, you'll see that I now have two different drawings associated with the two fittings that I started out with. If I continue to add some more, I'll show you another place. On the items where we were, when we were on an item, you go to the Scopes tab at that point, and we're going to go ahead and set some dimensions first. And if I want to change or add again, add a new scope, and I want it to follow through for this item and any items that come hereafter, then I can say Save as Job Default. If I just want this new return scope just for this piece of duct, then don't say Save as Job Default. But I want my next 10 or so fittings to actually use this same set of scopes. So I'm going to say Save as Job Default, go back to Input, OK the fitting, and do another one. and OK that fitting, and do another one, and OK that fitting. So now when I go back to my grid, again, you'll see that I have different drawings and different scopes, different user definable ones. That is what the last two user definable scopes are. It's use however you want them to be. You may want to use them like you did for sketch and piece name. Set up a user 1 and a user 2 in any manner that you want to. And that concludes setting up scopes and using scopes.